There comes a time in life when you have to stop playing small, a time when you stop hiding behind excuses, stop negotiating with fear, and finally face the toughest battle you will ever fight. The battle against the weakest version of yourself. That version of you is not your enemy because it hates you. It is your enemy because it wants comfort more than growth. It whispers lies when things get hard. It tells you that you cannot do it, that you are not ready, that maybe tomorrow will be better. But understand this clearly, tomorrow does not belong to the weak. Tomorrow belongs to the bold, to those willing to act today. The first step in defeating the weak version of yourself is admitting that it exists. Too many people live their entire lives in denial, convincing themselves that everything is fine while their dreams rot from neglect. They ignore the signs, avoid the hard truths, and wonder why nothing changes. Ignoring your weaknesses does not make them disappear. It gives them permission to grow stronger. You must take a hard look in the mirror and call it out. What is holding you back? Is it procrastination? Is it fear of failure? Is it self-doubt disguised as realism? Name it. Own it. Because what you refuse to name, you cannot defeat. Excuses are the fuel that keeps weakness alive. You tell yourself life is hard. You tell yourself the odds are stacked against you. You tell yourself you just need more time. But understand this, every champion has faced obstacles. Every strong person has stood where you are standing now. The difference is not talent or luck. The difference is refusal. The refusal to let excuses define reality. Excuses are lies that keep you comfortable in mediocrity. They protect you from responsibility while quietly stealing your potential. Stop blaming external factors for internal problems. Yes, life throws curveballs. Yes, circumstances matter. But your response to them matters more. Your reaction is what determines your future. Take accountability for your actions, your choices, and your mindset. The moment you do that, you reclaim power you have been handing over to circumstances, people, and fear. Accountability is not punishment. It is freedom. It is the moment you stop being a victim of life and start becoming an architect of it. Acknowledging weakness is not about tearing yourself down. It is about taking responsibility. Weakness grows when you refuse to confront it. Strength begins the moment you decide to own your life and stop waiting for someone else to rescue you. No one is coming. And that is not a threat. It is an opportunity. When you acknowledge your flaws, you open the door to solutions. You begin to see where you can grow, what you must learn, and who you must become. Denial keeps you blind and stagnant. Awareness moves you forward. Before we fully dive in, I just ask for one small thing. If you can take a second to like or hype the video, it helps me to reach more people who might need these words today. Thank you. Facing your weaknesses will be uncomfortable. It will challenge your ego. It will force you to confront habits you have protected for years. But that discomfort is the price of growth. You cannot heal what you refuse to admit is broken. Weakness thrives in secrecy and darkness. Shine a light on it through brutal honesty. Honesty is not weakness. It is strength in disguise. Once you acknowledge where you are, you create a starting point. From there, every step, no matter how small, is progress. But remember this, you cannot win a fight if you refuse to admit that you are in one. Change does not happen by accident. It does not happen because you feel inspired for a moment. Change happens when you make a decision. Not a casual, half-hearted decision, but a firm, unwavering one. The weak version of you is comfortable because it senses hesitation. It knows you have not fully committed. You keep circling the idea of growth instead of attacking it head-on. Decide today that you are done settling for less than your potential. There is power in saying, I'm done. When you reach that point, you tap into a level of strength you did not even know you possessed. Every major transformation in life begins with a decision. You do not stumble into discipline. You do not accidentally become strong. You choose it. The weak version you will fight back. It will remind you of past failures. It will replay old mistakes and tell you that you have tried before and failed. It will tell you to wait for the right time. But the truth is this, the right time does not exist. Waiting is a luxury weakness uses to survive. Decide now, not later, not when things feel easier. Deciding that enough is enough means drawing a line in the sand. It means saying, I will no longer tolerate this version of myself. This is not about proving anything to anyone else. This is about you and the person you face in the mirror every day. That is the only competition that matters. When the decision is real, your actions follow. Change is not just spoken, it is lived. And when decisions are backed by consistent action, transformation becomes inevitable. The weak version of you cannot survive where discipline, honesty, and commitment exist. Choose who you become. The fight is already happening. The only question left is whether you are ready to win. The weak version of you survives on inconsistency. It feeds on broken promises, skipped days, and half-finished efforts. That is why commitment is its greatest enemy. You do not defeat weakness with motivation. You defeat it with discipline. By showing up every single day, especially on the days you do not feel like it, you begin to starve that weaker version into extinction. The power of this decision lies in its permanence. This is not a temporary burst of effort or a short-lived surge of inspiration. This is a turning point. From this moment forward, You are no longer the person who hides behind excuses or avoids challenges. You are the person who takes ownership, who meets adversity head-on, and who refuses to retreat when things get uncomfortable. Decide today to fight for your dreams, your goals, and your future. Decide that you will no longer negotiate with weakness. Weakness cannot survive in the presence of conviction. Once the decision is made and reinforced through action, momentum becomes inevitable. The weak version of you does not stand a chance against consistency backed by resolve. At the core of that weak version is fear. Fear is the voice that asks, what if it doesn't work? Fear is the voice that says, what if they judge me? Fear is the voice that replays past failures and magnifies future uncertainty. But that voice is nothing more than noise. Fear has no real power of its own. It feeds entirely on hesitation. Every time you procrastinate, overthink, or delay action, you give fear permission to grow. And as fear grows, the weak version of you feels validated, protected, and alive. If you want to stop feeding fear, you must take action, especially when it terrifies you. Fear hates movement. Action exposes its lies. The moment you step forward, even imperfectly, fear begins to shrink. Do not wait for fear to disappear. It will not move through it. Fear is not eliminated. It is overpowered. Confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you earn through action. Every time you do the thing you are afraid of, fear loses leverage. You prove to yourself that you're capable, resilient, and stronger than your doubts. Your comfort zone is fear's favorite hiding place. That is where the weak version of you feels safe. But understand this clearly, nothing grows in the comfort zone. No transformation, no strength, no progress is born there. If you want to destroy the weak version of yourself, you must willingly step outside what feels familiar and safe. Discomfort is not your enemy. It is your teacher. Fear thrives on what-if scenarios. It keeps you frozen by forcing you to imagine the worst possible outcomes. But you have a choice. You can flip the script. You can ask different questions. What if it works out? What if this decision changes your life? What if this moment becomes the turning point you look back on years from now? Shift your focus and fear begins to lose its grip. Stop feeding fear by isolating yourself in doubt. Surround yourself with courage. Spend time with people who inspire you, challenge you, and demand more from themselves. Courage is contagious. When you witness others confronting their fears, pushing their limits, and refusing to settle, you begin to believe you can do the same. Fear is not a wall. It is a door, and the only way forward is through it. The weak version of you will beg you to stop, to retreat, to play it safe. But every time you push past fear, you weaken its hold and step further into the stronger, bolder version of yourself. If you continue feeding fear, it will consume your potential. If you starve it with action, confidence, and persistence, it will eventually lose its grip entirely. And understand this, you are the company you keep. If you spend your time around people who complain, make excuses, and normalize mediocrity, you will slowly begin to mirror their habits and mindset. The weak version of you thrives in that environment because it feels justified there. It feels normal. If you want to eliminate that version of yourself, you must elevate your circle. Strong people do not just talk about what they are going to do. They do it. They challenge themselves daily. They take responsibility for their failures and learn from them. When you surround yourself with people like this, their standards begin to influence your own. You start to see what is possible because you are witnessing it firsthand. Look around. Are the people in your life lifting you up or pulling you down? Are they pushing you toward growth or anchoring you to stagnation? If the answer is the latter, something must change. You do not owe anyone your future. Weakness thrives on loyalty to the wrong crowd. Strength demands that you choose wisely. Being around stronger people is not about competition. It is about elevation. You learn by observing how they think, how they respond to pressure, and how they handle adversity. Their discipline becomes a blueprint. Their mindset becomes a standard. Sometimes upgrading your circle means walking away from people who no longer align with your vision. That is not selfish. It is intentional. Weak people will criticize you for changing. Strong people will respect you for growing. Learn to let go without guilt. Seek out mentors, coaches, and role models who have already walked the path you want to walk. Their perspective will help you see beyond your current limitations and accelerate your growth. When you combine the right environment with disciplined action and unwavering commitment, the weak version of you has nowhere left to hide. And that is how it ends. Not with motivation, not with words, but with consistent, relentless action. The weak version of you cannot survive in a room full of strong individuals. It becomes exposed. It is challenged. It is forced to confront its own limitations. When you surround yourself with people who demand more from themselves, you are not just killing the weak version of you. You are actively replacing it with a version that believes in growth, excellence, and greatness. Your circle is your environment, and environment shapes identity. A strong environment produces strong habits, strong thinking, and strong standards. Weakness suffocates where accountability and ambition exist. When your surroundings raise the bar, you are compelled to rise with them. Discipline is the weapon that destroys the weak version of yourself. Not motivation, not inspiration. Discipline. Discipline is the consistent, unrelenting effort that says, I am in control. Weakness thrives on inconsistency, skipping workouts, sleeping in, choosing comfort over progress, and negotiating with excuses. Discipline leaves no room for negotiation. It replaces feelings with action and intention with execution. The weak version of you depends on motivation, but motivation is temporary. It comes and goes with mood and circumstance. Discipline, on the other hand, is permanent. It shows up when motivation disappears. It is waking up early to chase your goals even when you are exhausted. It is saying no to distractions and yes to priorities every single time. Each discipline choice weakens the grip of your lazy, distracted, uncommitted self. Building discipline is not about making massive, dramatic changes overnight. It is about small daily commitments honored consistently. Start with one non-negotiable action each day. Something aligned with your goals. Read for 10 minutes, train for 30, write one page, reflect in silence. These actions may seem small, but they compound relentlessly over time. Momentum is built through consistency, not intensity. Weakness hates structure because structure demands accountability. Create routines that support your growth and remove decision fatigue. Whether it is a morning ritual, a scheduled workout, or protected focus time, structure keeps you aligned. When willpower fades, it eliminates excuses by making progress automatic. There will be days when you feel like quitting. On those days, remember why you started. The weak version of you will beg for comfort.